Okay, so on to the very next track, man, in the 21 Pilots album, man. We are continuing. We just did Routines in the Night. Track was fire, absolute fire. Probably one of my favorites, to be honest. I say that about every one of their tracks, so what does that even mean anymore? 21 Pilots Vignette. So that's the next one up, man. That's the next one up. Let's rock and roll, man. Let's see what we've got over here. Once again, I apologize. It's been a while. So many people have literally... they've been stringing me up on this thing. Just things have been absolutely crazy. I've been dying to actually do the reactions because I've been wanting to listen to the tracks, but I just haven't been able to get behind a camera. But anyway, that's neither here nor there right now because we're doing it now. So let's go. Tyler's script walking style. Fire, bro. Gotta love it, bro.
Not sure when it started. Peeling from his bones, piece it back together all alone. Hope it held together long enough for he to pinch the greener grasses and hope that she would agree. Fresh off a binger in the woods. Flesh.
Peel it from his fucking bones, piece it all back together. Wait a second, bro. Wait a second. Go back.
Not sure when it started. Peeling from his bones, piece it back together all alone. Hope it held it.
Fire, that's very clever. So it's literally when you tear yourself apart all the time. So you literally psychologically, you don't feel like you're good enough. So you're literally tearing yourself apart. You're tearing the essence of who you are apart. And then it gets to a point where you want to piece it back together because it's always that survival mode, right? Where it's like you want to always get better. You want to always get into a better space. So you get that sort of moment of lucidity where you're like, okay, I'm done tearing myself up for now, right? Let me try and see if I can piece this together. Let me try and see if I can piece my life. So it's taking all the bits of pieces that you've tore off yourself and trying to sort of puzzle it out to try and figure out who you are or what the essence of you essentially. That's quite clever.
Alone, hope it held together long enough for he to pinch the greener grasses and hope that she would agree. Fresh off a binger in the woods.
Clever enough for heat to sort of bind it, right? I think it's very clear when you see greener grasses. So basically for heat to actually get something to grow, it needs the sunlight, it needs heat, and literally for you, and then also it's referring to greener pastures, right? So literally binding it together essentially is that it's not so stitched together, it's not so fickle and fragile, right? It needs some like a deeper, stronger energy to sort of bind it essentially, so something can grow out from it where you can get your greener pastures. Very fucking clever.
Off a binger in the woods, flesh covered in bites. Testing what is real, what is good. Man, it's been a long night. It's a tribute to zombies of which I've become. Where do I go from here? Where do I go from here?
It's a tribute to zombies of which I've become. So obviously, literally, your stripes, your insecurities, and those kind of things have kind of turned you numb. It's kind of turned you into a zombie. Also playing into the flesh and the flesh eating, like biting yourself, essentially. Very clever that he's playing on that. That he's actually, it's a very clever scheme over there. But what I do like about the way the video is filmed as well, and the fact that the video is called Vignette, and we're talking about the zombies as well. So if you think about the games and you think about the movies and things like that, where you're walking into these dark spaces, so you feel like you're alone in these dark spaces, and it's just the torch kind of creates that sort of photographic styling, which is like the vignette where you get the darker edges, right? The darker edges around, and you literally look, it's like a very there's a very focal point, and that focal point can be very fucking scary, which is the light from the actual torch itself, right? But you're not really too worried about the light. You're not worried about what you're gonna see. It's what you're not seeing is what you're actually worried about, and that lies within that vignette portrait, essentially, which is very cool. And what I also like in terms of he's playing on Vignette is kind of like something being brief, right, to a certain degree. So that these brief moments of feeling like a zombie, the zombie that you've created, right? So clever. Oh my God, it's just so smart what they're doing over here. Even the video style is very clever, sort of playing into that vignette. The dark areas is what scares you. Right? There might be some light that you're seeing, but what you can't see in your peripheries, that's what's it's making you feel very uncomfortable. It's shuddering you to the fucking core, and it's making you feel like a zombie. Now, this could be equated to literally mental health. It can be equated to, I don't know, it could be equated to addiction. I don't think he's ever had an issue with addiction or anything like that, but I'm just saying it could be like that. It literally can be relevant and relatable to anybody who's going through that sort of thing, where they've got like that pinpoint vision of something, but there's something a lot deeper, darker, and more powerful that consistently seems to be around them. And if that fucking torch goes out, that vignette consumes you. You fall into the darkness. Do you know what I mean? Fire. Swallowed by the vignette. Come on, bro. Fire, bro. Fucking, you could see the style you went with this. Very clever.
No way I'm headed there. Always sure-footed, educated, and was never scared. Now we can't hold out his hand without it shaking. Hounded by a bunch of dead when the search body found him. Fresh off a binger in the woods. Flesh covered in bites.
It's crazy though, because when you walk in those dark spaces, you know, when you've trudged the road less traveled by for long enough, right, that fear tends to dissipate essentially. So you used to shake all the time, you used to be very scared, but then to a certain degree, you get comfortable with your discomfort. Do you know what I mean? So you don't shake anymore, and that actually can be a good thing or a bad thing. You could be steady-footed, you could be steady-handed like a surgeon, but is that a good thing? Is that a good thing that you're comfortable in the darkness, right? From a mental space. Do you know what I mean? So it speaks to bravery, it speaks to character, but it also speaks to despondency and to being somewhat numb. And that's not good. Do you know what I mean? So, I like that. I like what he's going with.
Testing what is real, what is good. Man, it's been a long night. It's a tribute to zombies, of which I've become. Where do I go from here? Where do I go from here? Clinging to promises, fighting off the vignette. Tunnelscape, visions fade, swallowed by the vignette. No, not me, it's for a friend. No, not me, it's for a friend. No, not me, it's for a friend.
Very clever. It's kind of like that not wanting to own something, right? Because it kind of feels like you're ashamed by it. So you go to that excuse. Oh, no, it's not me, for a friend. So it's almost like seeking help, but not wanting to admit that you're seeking help for yourself, right? You want to seek help for somebody else, right? Because you don't really want people to sort of peek into that vignette, because it's a dark place in there, and you don't want people judging you further, essentially. So it's very clever that he's playing on that, essentially. I think it's very smart. Where the fuck did my mouse go? Okay, anyway, carry on.
No, not me, it's for a friend. No, not me, it's for a friend. Denial.
It's a crazy psychological thing that we actually do ourselves, is like in terms of like not wanting to own our own sort of weaknesses, our own vulnerabilities, because it kind of makes us feel weak to a certain degree. So that environmentally has sort of been constructed. It's kind of been indoctrinated into us, depending on, you know, sort of our upbringing and stuff like that. But it's crazy that we do that kind of thing, even with religion. Like, people will do it where it's like you can speak to God directly, but you would prefer to speak to God through a proxy, which would be the priest, essentially, because maybe speaking to God is kind of like a bit shuddering, because you kind of you feel you're not worthy of that, essentially. So you'd go to church, and then you'd feel good about the fact that you're going to church and someone is speaking on your behalf and praying over you or whatever else, but it's effectively done through a proxy to absolve you of your sins, in terms of owning your sins, laying them before the person that you're, the whatever, the God, the deity that's actually out there, right? And owning that yourself. That, because that means you need to say that to yourself, right? That means that it's something that you need to hold, you need to own, and you need to let go. And you can't let it go through a proxy. You need to let go through your own sort of channel, and then own it. And by listening to those things and owning that for yourself and speaking those words out, right, can bring up some very, very, very dark sort of like feelings and emotions in your thing, because no one really wants to face their demons. Nobody really wants to look in the mirror and realize that they're just not who they should be, and realize that their lives are a complete disaster and stuff like that. So it's easier to do things through a proxy, and it's easier to not have to own those kind of thing. And that's a very sort of funny little sleight of hand that we do to ourselves, right? And but we want the help, we seek the help, right? But it's better that it comes, you know, it doesn't come direct. It just comes around the bush. Maybe it's for somebody else, or maybe somebody can pray for me. Do you know what I mean? That kind of vibe. So it's kind of that same sort of mentality where, you know, we're very quick with our actions, but not very quick in accepting consequences either. And then that's where we start coming up with all these justifications, which are all really just deflections of us having to see our own reflections, essentially. But anyway, carry on. If that made any sense. What's on the paper? That's what I fucking want to know. Oh, fire, bro. It's not me, it's for a friend. Come on, bro. That is so cool. That is so clever. This over here is one of his pillars, essentially, which I think is absolutely fire. So a lot of the times what he's saying is that I lean on him, sometimes unfairly, but I do lean on him and use him as an excuse for my own mental well-being. Bruh, fire. And in doing that, it kind of sort of like pushes that vignette a little bit outwards as opposed to inwards. That's fucking clever, man. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.